So, what is really going on with Kaoru Mitoma at Brighton and Hove Albion, and when are we going to see him back, and how do Brighton deal with that left wing issue? Welcome to Seagull Central. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Adam MacDonald, and if you haven't been here before, welcome along to the best. I was going to say the biggest. It's not the biggest, but the best, the most in-depth, the fastest growing Brighton and Hove Albion fan community out there. And if you are part of this community already, thank you very much for coming back. I appreciate you a lot. Hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on if you haven't done already, and join the growing number of Albion fans coming to this channel. Today, we're going to talk about Kaoru Mitoma, his situation generally, kind of also that strange thing at Brighton where if a player is out with a knock or is out, for a couple of weeks, suddenly it's 2 months later and they're not playing for us. And more generally, as we kind of begin to turn our attention towards the Brentford game in just under a week's time as Brighton come back after the international break, how are we going to deal with that left wing situation, particularly given the one injury that seems to have come through the international break so far? We haven't got any news of any others at the time of recording, but there is one which I think may change the starting 11 next Saturday, and will be interesting considering how the lineup is looking. So I think, if we talk about the Kaoru Mitoma situation, there's no doubt about it. One of our most influential players, particularly over the last couple of years, one of our best players. And this season for him has been quite a difficult one. It's now been a couple of months since we saw him in action. It was a while ago where he was kind of out with a knock. We didn't really see much of him. Since then, we've basically not seen any of him. Just before the international break, a couple of games before that, I think it was the Leeds at home game, we were told he was kind of 50-50, might be involved for it. No sign of him in the squad at all. Then for the Palace game, we were told, Veltman, okay, you're back. Mitoma, I think he's still a bit 50-50. We'll see for that one. He might be in the squad. He's probably not going to start. Sweet as, that's fine. But wait, he wasn't in the squad at all. Now over the international break, the kind of pictures at the club release of the training programme, plenty of players, whilst going on international duty for Brighton, plenty of players still are at the club. There's a decent group, a decent cohort of players training over this international break, still with the first team. Obviously, academy players will supplement that as well to make up the numbers in the meantime. But you're seeing photos of Kaoru Mitoma and Solly March training separately from the main group. Now, I think you would kind of get it, wouldn't you, with Solly March, a player who, yes, he came back in, what was it? Would it have been the start of the year, maybe January, February he was back? I might be getting my dates slightly wrong there. Obviously, there was that game in the FA Cup, I think it was against Norwich, where he scored a goal. He did come back from that injury that he got in October 2023, am I right in saying that? God, yeah, I think I am. I remember I was there at the Etihad, October 2023. So over 2 years ago now since we properly saw the best of Solly March. And there's no doubt about it, considering the extent of his injury, considering the complications with him coming back to kind of full fitness, you would understand why he is maybe still training separately and it's a much longer road to recovery. I think what happened is maybe many Brighton fans were kind of given a little bit of a shock where I think we all thought that, look, Kaoru Mitoma, a player who was 50-50 before the Palace game, will probably be ready to come back after the international break. A good 2-week window to get himself fit and firing. Maybe not match sharpness back, but ready to be in the squad for the Brentford game. We're seeing pictures of him training alone with Solly March, who you would imagine is at a much more severe level of kind of injury still, and maybe is at a much more underdeveloped level of program still in terms of his rehabilitation. So I think this is a concern, and it's something we've had a lot, haven't we, at Brighton over the last couple of years, even under kind of De Zerbi as well, and particularly last season when we had so many injuries. Remember there was a period where Julio Enciso was out for a while a couple of seasons ago. We were told it was just going to be a short one, ended up being out for 6 months. You saw it with Lewis Dunk when he was injured for a little bit last season. All of these players who tend to go out of the side when we lose them, you're told it's just a knock. It's the old Brighton curse, isn't it? A knock basically translates to 2 to 3 months. So I think what Brighton have lost in this meantime has been, one of the most attacking players. And how have we? How have Brighton coped without him? Well, what they've done is they've obviously, Fabian Hurzeler really likes playing Diego Gomez out on the left wing. We saw that against Palace. We saw it against Leeds as well. We've seen it in other games too. And he is a player who is clearly in very good form and playing very well, particularly against Crystal Palace. I think you've got to say one of our best players completely. But he's a very, very different type of profile of player to Kaoru Mitoma, a player who, has similar traits that Minteh maybe has on the right wing, who can run at players, be direct, get us up the field, gain us territory. That's what Kaoru Mitoma is so good at. The best dribbler, definitely in our squad. You can maybe say one of the best dribblers in the league even. A fantastic talent and a unique one too. And I think it maybe informs why Brighton signed, Tommy Watson from Sunderland in the summer. Well, I remember at the time, you heard lots of Sunderland fans, surprised that Brighton were prepared to sell Simon Adingra for Tommy Watson. Well, actually, what Brighton did there, I think, looked to be very, very good business. A player who, in Tommy Watson matches Kaoru Mitoma's style very, very similarly. The real ability to run onto balls on the left-hand side, to chase up and down the line. Got that real keenness to dribble at plays. He's got that same style and wanting to dribble. He's tall, he's big. He's got that frame that kind of suits Premier League football in terms of physicality. The trouble with him as well is that we haven't seen really the best of him because of his injury. I remember being at Old Trafford, seeing him come on looking very, very good. We've seen him in another couple of games where he's come on. Did he start against Arsenal? I feel like he might have started in that game in the Carabao Cup. But we had to get to kind of mid-October before we started properly seeing him play. And even now, he was out for the Palace game, and, who knows what the situation is, going forward with him. So in terms of our left wing, it's been a difficult period for Brighton in terms of their left wing. We've been having to play players like Diego Gomez there. Now, look, in the long term, I don't think Diego Gomez playing there is the position that we want to see him in. I think for him, playing as a number 8 or even a number 10 would be a preferred position where he can get centrally and shoot. I think the way Brighton play, though, with their fullbacks and wingers, it is quite interesting. Obviously, the way you see Mats Wiefer at right back coming into midfield quite a lot. I think we saw in the Palace game, not only Diego Gomez was playing left wing, but actually he was swapping with Ferdi Kadioglu on the left-hand side. And Diego Gomez would be playing as almost a left back, but then in possession would be coming into midfield. It was quite interesting, almost allowed us to have those extra midfielders. I think that's what we're seeing a lot with Fabian Hurzeler, is the kind of hybrid nature of the many positions and the fact that actually we can overload particular areas, overloading that gap in the opposition between their defence and midfield, where we overload a lot of midfielders. Diego Gomez, Yasin Ayari, Carlos Baleba, Mats Wiefer, Jorginho Rutter. We get all of those guys into that part of the field. And that seems to be a real theme of how we're playing at the moment. So I think we might still see that on the weekend, say if Kaoru Mitoma isn't back for that game. I think the complication for all of this lies in the fact that over the international break, Yasin Ayari playing on, I think it was Saturday night, or would it have been Saturday night? Maybe it was Friday night. No, I think it was Saturday night. Came off in the second half against Sweden, twisted his ankle, sprained his ankle. We don't quite understand the extent of it, but obviously that can be an injury which might keep you out for a week or so, 10 days. Obviously I'm not a professional athlete. I've done that myself. I think we've probably all done that when playing sport. I think I sprained mine, and I couldn't play for like 4 weeks because, I wasn't getting professional treatment. But I think maybe for a professional footballer, that could be something that keeps you out for a week or two. So I do wonder whether we're going to actually even see Yasin Ayari on the weekend against Brentford. Look, he might be back. It might not be anywhere near as bad as we thought. Even then, it's quite a low-level injury. But how does that affect the way that Brighton line up? If Diego Gomez will then be forced to play in central midfield alongside Carlos Baleba, what would we do about the left wing situation? We obviously don't have Jack Hinshelwood quite back yet. It looks like from the videos and the content that the club would put in out, he's back in some form of training. He's got the ball at his feet. He's on the grass, which is positive. We might see him in the next couple of weeks, but he's not going to be a player who, in terms of Brentford on Saturday, is ready to start. So what do Brighton do? I think what's most looking likely, if Yasin Ayari doesn't make it, is that Diego Gomez will come into that central midfield too with Carlos Baleba. It means Diego Gomez can continue his form. He can continue the momentum of playing games, which is obviously what he needs. And I wonder whether we'll see Maxim de Kuyper come in his place, either as a left back or a left winger, or just that general combination between Kadioglu and de Kuyper where they link up so well on the left-hand side. Brighton do look like a much different side without Kaoru Mitoma. And personally, I'd be very interested to see Kaoru Mitoma linking up with Ferdi Kadioglu. The way we've seen Kadioglu play so well on the left-hand side in these last few weeks, I think it's really exciting. And actually, the prospect of having him and Kaoru Mitoma together would be really, really interesting. Look, let's just hope that Mitoma's ready to play some impact on the weekend against Brentford. We've still got another week to go. Who knows how he might look, even if it just means coming off the bench and providing us with an option. But if we don't have Tommy Watson, we don't have him, things do look a bit hairy, and I think that's why we've maybe seen a little bit more of that Kuiper Kadioglu combination on the left-hand side because we don't have many options. But frankly, I think having that ability to cut inside with the right foot from the left wing is really important for the way Brighton play. And I think, I remember at Old Trafford we saw Minteh playing on the left-hand side for long periods of time. That was a left footer. I just don't think it worked. We looked a lot better when he moved onto the right-hand side in the second half. Tommy Watson came on the left-hand side and it provided us with a bit of a different option. So I guess the question is, when is Kaoru Mitoma going to come back? Will we see him on the weekend? And how long are we? And also, does he get straight back into the side, I suppose, is the question as well, considering kind of we've been playing pretty well. And Diego Gomez has been doing a good job there. I don't think he necessarily would have been, it wouldn't have been an urgency to get him straight back into the side. I think maybe now the fact we've lost Yasin Ayari and we're having to kind of tweak our midfield might change things a little bit. But I think it will be interesting to see over the next week how things develop, how the training program goes, and what Fabian Hurzeler says in his press conference on Thursday or Friday morning. Let me know in the comments, why do you think it is that it takes Brighton so long to get players back from injury? What do you think it is? What do you think's happened in the Mitoma case? And how do you think Brighton can adapt, can change to kind of play maybe without a Gomez, without an Ayari, without a Mitoma, without a Watson? And do we need that proper profile of left winger to help us? Or do you think someone like Kadioglu and Kuiper have done well enough in that position in the meantime? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, if you've got this far in the video and you haven't done it already to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on. It means you will never, ever miss a video. You'll be first and fastest to all the best, all the latest Brighton content out there and analysis from me on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. And as always, up the Albion.